What does the term self-care mean to you? Maybe it's a 10-step skincare routine, a spin class at the gym, or a Netflix and chill session after work. But like many aspects of modern life, the practice and perception of self-care is being impacted by social media.
At its best, self-care was a notion that the things that you could enjoy, the things that really mattered, were outside of the bounds of productivity and work, that sometimes taking time for yourself was an act of resistance against a culture that commodified everything else.
Dr. Tara Isabella Burton is the author of the forthcoming book, Self-Made, and has spent plenty of time researching this topic.
But I think that self-care has gone from an idealistic reminder that there are things in life that exist outside of our economic and productive lives into a view of the self that's predicated on the notion that we have to be our best selves, we have to cultivate our best selves because those selves are commodities.
One of the main ways that social media has really kind of impacted self-care is that it has really become a significant stressor for a lot of people. This issue of comparing ourselves to other people, I think, has really skyrocketed. You know, before you would kind of just look around at your circles in terms of the people in your classes or the people you worked with, and like that would be your pool for comparison. And with social media, there are thousands of people.
I worry that in an age of social media and in an age where we are so used to thinking of ourselves as a kind of product, a commodity, something that we are constantly polishing and chiseling both for the eyes of others and kind of for our own sense of self, we lose the sense that we are not just isolated individuals.
One way to describe this version of self-care, well, think about airplane oxygen masks. During the safety presentation, they tell you, in the event of an emergency, put on your oxygen mask first before helping others. Oprah Winfrey talked about it in one of her books, saying, if you don't put on your mask first, you won't be able to save anyone else. But this idea of self-care raises a much bigger question. At what point does self-care become selfish?
In the abstract, self-care is as a worthy concept among many others. Of course, we should tend to ourselves and look after ourselves. But I think the point where self-care takes on a particular cultural valence that I find troubling or worthy of critique is the point at which it implies that cultivating ourselves by attending to our immediate needs or our immediate feelings is the kind of be-all and end-all of what we are as humans.
In what ways are maybe people misinterpreting boundary setting when it comes to self-care? Like, at what point is canceling plans on friends or loved ones just seen as like rude?
It is a very fine line because you do want to pay attention to the kinds of things that you need to do to be well, right? So if you find yourself as somebody who is overextended, then it is really a good idea for you to rein some of that back in and, you know, set clear boundaries on your time. But what you don't want to forget is that we exist in communities, right? You know, none of us are meant to kind of do this life thing alone. We don't exist on islands. And so staying connected to the people who are important to you is really, really important and is actually a great part of our self-care. Like community care and like surrounding ourselves with our support system is actually a very vital part of self-care.
When it comes to setting boundaries in the name of self-care, Dr. Joy and Tara have noticed another online trend that's often misinterpreted: Instagram therapy.
So I feel like this is a bit of a double-edged sword. Therapy does not exist on Instagram, right? So, you know, when we're talking about therapy, we are talking about an intentional relationship between yourself and a licensed mental health professional, which you cannot do on Instagram. So what you're actually seeing on Instagram are lots of therapists talking about our work, right? Like we're offering some resources for people. We're offering helpful tips and things for people to think about. We're offering language for people to kind of help them understand what's going on with them and what they may want to talk to a therapist about, but it is not therapy. It has given a lot of people language and a place to start for some of the concerns that they were having in their life, and they didn't even know, like, oh, this is the thing that I want to think more about. But I think, you know, the downfall of it is that people, I think, are doing too much kind of self-diagnosing and like really picking themselves apart. And they are also using terms that are meant to really kind of be used with other mental health professionals and kind of casting a wide net with it.
What should self-care, I guess, look like in a healthy way?
So going back to boundaries, I think looking at how much you're saying yes to and figuring out, are there some things that you need to take off of your plate so that you can have more time to stay physical, stay connected to your support system, to get good rest. I think that that is really important. Do you have a circle of people who help to hold you accountable? Do you have people in your circle who won't always just say yes to you, but will also challenge you to kind of be the best possible version of yourself? But also that those relationships are reciprocal, right? So it's not always just about you doing for them, but also them taking a good look and helping you when you need it as well. And faith and spirituality. You know, I think for a lot of people, faith and religion and spirituality are really important. And so I think staying connected to spiritual communities and visiting your church homes or whatever religious practices you have is something else that really is important for a lot of people in terms of self-care.